Morning. Morning.
Morning.
Morning, morning. Bloody welcome. Welcome, bloody welcome. Thank you, bloody thank you for tuning in to this week's show, which is called
Sunday Chat.
It is. Paul.
What?
Paul. There's something different about you.
Yeah, slightly.
What is it? What is
Slightly.
it? Tell the viewers.
I have cut my hair a little bit.
I made several mistakes along the way as well. I'm going to have to get in there and even it up.
Yeah, well, it's
Yes,
you said yesterday that I should cut my hair shorter. So I had to have a shower anyway. I was in need of a shower. So I decided to cut it in the shower when it was wet. And I sort of pulled it up to the back there, and then I pulled it up over here, and that's sort of snippy and snippy. I thought I did quite a good job, but I can't see the back. Is it layered nicely? That's what they say, isn't it? Don't they say
There are a
things
couple
like
of words in that sentence that I don't think belong. Can you guess which ones they are? Layered and nicely.
They always say things like that.
It's
don't
certainly
they?
something. Well, when you layer, you sort of pull the hair right up, parallel to the head, and then you cut. And as the hair falls, it falls into layers.
So have I done that?
No. Let's get on with the show. It's not a long one this week, folks. It's not a long one.
Can you layer curly hair?
Yeah, of course.
Alright.
It's not always as obvious as straight hair, but
Doesn't it get into curled?
curly hair is a blessing in terms of doing self-cuts, because the mistakes don't show as easily on some people.
But they do on me. Yeah.
I
I'm
will-
quite happy with
I
it.
will go through it and I will neaten it up and get rid of the odds and ends. If he's bald next week, you know it went wrong. So, bloody welcome
It
to...
saves some money, you know. It saves some money.
Shush now, that segment's finished.
Oh, right,
We're moving
okay.
forwards.
Moving on.
Through time
moving
and
forward.
space.
Yeah. I still can't get my head around, the size of
Yeah.
the universe
Shush
and all
now,
of that.
Paul.
It's you
Shush.
mentioned it.
Shush.
You mentioned it.
But
And the
we're all-
TARDIS, that's something, the TARDIS always, it moved in time and space, but it didn't move itself,
You know what? Shall I
It's-
tell you something about the TARDIS?
Yeah.
It's fictional.
No.
Okay? It's not real.
No.
It's a story. A story told by people to other people. That's what stories are. Let's move on now. Bloody welcome to everybody who has recently joined us. And also let's say goodbye to the people who've recently left us as well.
Well, have they left us, or have YouTube done the
Goodbye.
sort of thing?
Goodbye. It's like the trash took itself out. So, welcome on other platforms as well, such as Instagram,
Twitter.
Planet Vegetaria, that's a Facebook group by Richard and Paul since 2017, that's contractual. And of course our Facebook page,
Richard and Paul.
Richard and Paul.
And coffee.
Oh, and coffee.
Our
yes.
subscribers on coffee.
And of course, coffee supporters get treated to Sunday Chat Extra. Not every week.
Not every week.
And it's exclusive.
It's exclusive.
See, we're always giving more. Well, actually, we've not given more recently, but
We've given more this morning.
we're coming into the new winter season when we'll hopefully be coming up with a few more cookery videos as demanded by yourselves.
Yeah.
And some winter food delights.
We're going to have Hoppin' John tonight with kale.
What?
That's rice and beans. And
Oh.
I'm going to add some kale into it.
Lovely.
It's from Stone's cookbook.
Always a lovely meal with rice, isn't it? I
I'm
love
really
rice.
enjoying rice at the
Me
moment.
too. Anything rice, risotto,
Not at this moment.
wild rice, Camargue rice, which
Oh,
is
I
a red
love Camargue
rice. We've got
rice.
some in the cupboard, actually.
We've got some in the cupboard.
I think
yeah.
we should do... Do you remember that dish I did with
No.
3 different rices?
Yeah, you did
And a
mixed
beautiful
rice
tomato
salad, didn't you?
sauce with, I think it was sort of like vegetarian meatballs, and it was delicious.
Yeah, I sort of don't remember that, no.
We did it for a dinner party,
Yeah, I don't remember
and it
that.
was a Greek tomato sauce recipe that I used.
Oh, was it? Did it have lots of
was.
oregano in it?
Had lots of oregano and lots of sugar in it.
Oh,
Because the Greeks
yeah,
use quite a bit of
they
sugar
use-
in their tomato
You don't
sauces.
need to, yeah, I mean, a bit of sweetness brings out the tomato sweetness, but not too much. Not too much. No.
So, let's get on with the show. So it's not a long one. It's just a short one this
And
week.
of course, wild rice isn't actually rice.
A rice. No, it's
It's
not.
a grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
So it's a seed.
It's a seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's lovely though.
It is.
Mm.
You must have cooked them all separately.
I did.
And then
I
mix them together.
Combined them just before serving.
I mean, Camargue rice.
Because they all cook at different rates.
They do. That's why I said that.
That's right, Paul.
Just in case anyone decided to mix it all together, because wild rice can take up to about sort of 45 minutes. Can't
That's
it?
right. And Camargue is about 35.
I think Camargue's 35, and then our bog
Ordinary
standard
rice.
long grain
Or brown.
is about 15 to 18 the way that we do it on the
We use the absorption
method. Yeah, yeah. I was telling somebody about that the other day. I can't remember who it was. I was explaining. Oh yeah, it was our friend down the street. Yes, I was explaining the absorption method.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Oh. So. I just had a glitch.
It was like the Matrix. Yeah.
Weather. It's much cooler. It was cooler the other night when we were out and about.
But more of
More
that
of
in a
that
minute.
later.
Yeah.
Um,
It's grey today.
It's very dull, and it's much cooler, and it's sort of slightly damp, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
There's
got that sort of feeling in the air. Humidity, cold humidity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which isn't pleasant.
No.
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 So we're cosy this morning in our little house. I've got my oil burners on with fragrances such as bergamot, lavender, lemongrass. Beautiful combinations. Combination. I don't think the heating's on though.
No, well,
don't
you
think-
don't like
No,
the
I
heating on
don't
when
like
we're
to be
doing
too
Sunday chat. Because then you have a whinge about it.
I don't like to get too hot when sort of filming and doing stuff and getting lamps down and bringing the camera stand and all of those things.
And you've got a big jumper on.
Well, I have, but I'm nice now.
Right, okay. Well, it's a good thing it's not on.
So that's the weather. The outlook is cold. According to certain lovely newspapers, it's Snowmageddon next week for us.
Oh, so the Express said that.
And the Mirror.
Really?
And the Sun.
Well, of course
Snowmageddon. Britain to be plunged into minus 17 temperatures next week. Oh, really, I don't think so. I don't think so.
No. The Mirror and the Express
They do that every
are
week.
owned by the same people.
They do that every week.
Well, I remember years ago, and I
Not
know
that I
I've
read
said
them.
this before.
I don't read them though, Paul.
No,
Do
but
I?
you look at the covers on your phone. One day the Express had something like we were all going to freeze to death, and then the next day it was we were all going to swelter, and it's sort of like, yeah, you know. I mean, the Express particularly is. I mean, it's a better paper than it was now that it's under, you know, the Mirror and the Express are owned by the same people now. But yeah, mind you, we don't read them.
No, just.
Oh, I did read something in the Daily Mirror today because I thought that can't be true, and I read it, and indeed it wasn't true. You know, because you get those articles with headlines, don't you? And you start reading, oh, really, and you read it all. It gets down to the bottom, and it said, you know, none of the facts could be corroborated. We couldn't speak to such and such. And you think, well, you just made it up then. So there.
You finished.
Yeah.
Good.
You sounded quite sort of northern then.
Good.
You sounded a bit sort of dinner ladies-y.
Good. So, next week is Thanksgiving for our friends in the United States of America. Do they celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada?
I think they have a different Thanksgiving date in Canada.
Oh.
I think it's a...
I'm sure you'll all tell us.
Yeah, I think it's later. Or is it earlier? Or is it completely different
Wishing
date?
you in advance a very happy Thanksgiving.
And they're going to be having pumpkin pie.
We don't have Thanksgiving in the UK.
Well, if you're an American family, you may celebrate it. And if you know American families,
We don't
you
have
may
Thanksgiving
go and
in the
celebrate it.
UK. It's
There's
not
Thanksgiving
a UK thing.
dinner. I've seen a menu online
It's
for
not
Thanksgiving
a
dinner.
UK thing, Paul. Don't start making it.
Well, it sort of
UK
is
thing.
really a UK thing, isn't it? Because it's giving thanks for UK people having crossed the oceans and all of that.
Yeah, but it's not a holiday in this country.
No, it's not a holiday.
We do
in
not
this
have
country.
this as a holiday. It is not a
No.
recognised thing in the UK.
Mm.
Okay, and neither will it ever be. Thank you.
I'm sure they do things at the American Embassy.
Yes, but that's for American people.
Yeah, I bet there's a big gathering there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand why. I mean, Christmas is a big thing in the UK. People really celebrate Christmas. I don't really understand why they have to have another holiday so near to Christmas.
Because it's Thanksgiving.
But it's only one day.
Yeah.
And people have to rush around getting to see people on Thanksgiving. I mean, give them 2 days.
Well, that's why it always sits on a Thursday. So that people can have a long weekend. It's not like Christmas. It doesn't move days each year.
Why would a Thursday make it a long weekend if it's
Well,
just
because
one
people
day?
take off. They go on Thanksgiving on Wednesday and they travel and they arrive Thursday and they go back Sunday, I suppose.
There's a day in between.
I know, so it gives them a long... They
Friday.
can take a day's holiday. It gives them a long weekend.
Why not give it on a Friday?
I don't know.
That would
Maybe the settlers originally... the
or
day
a
of
Monday.
Maybe it was a Thursday. Thursday was the first day that it
I don't get
happened,
it.
and therefore it
I
was,
don't get it. I don't understand it. Mind you, I don't get Christmas either. I mean, what's the point of that?
Well, I love Christmas because it's an extra 2 days holiday.
It works well this year
It
for
does,
me.
it works well.
Very, very well for me. It means I'll only have to go into work for half a day that week.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
So I will have
So
joy for a whole
praise
half a day
be-
that week.
Praise be to the Lord. Thank you.
The Lord of Bank Holidays.
The Lord of Bank Holiday.
Isn't it funny that we call... I suppose they're holidays because they were days that the bank shut. I wonder what the whole history of that is, though.
Well, look it up. Do the Google.
I might do the
Do
Googling.
la Google.
I might do that because I'd like to know. That's something else I'd like to know.
So we had a special event, la spéciale célébration this week.
What do you...
I couldn't think of the word event.
I don't think you could think.
What's the word for event in French?
Eventement?
Eventement.
I don't know. It sounds quite good.
It doesn't.
It does. Eventement.
I don't know what it is. Anyway, so we went to...
I know what it is. Un happening. That's what it is. Un happening.
We went to the Kew Gardens Christmas lights. That's Christmas at Kew. And for those of you who don't know what Kew is a place in West London which is the home of the Royal Botanic Gardens. A massive site that, as if you follow us, you will know we visit on a regular basis because we are members. And
Well, you have to pay extra for the queue at Christmas.
yeah, you have to book tickets for it.
Extravaganza.
So I've got a few small clips of the show, which I'll run now for you. So, did we enjoy it as much as the previous years that we visited?
No.
No, we didn't. So if I were to critique it properly, I would say that yes, it has spectacular elements to it. It's great fun to be outside looking at lights.
In the dark.
Obviously. Great, but it was lacking a few elements this year, and the thing that really, really made it special in the past was this real feeling of immersion in this sort of slightly otherworldly environment. So, for example, Kew Gardens is a very large site. The trail itself is a couple of kilometres.
Yeah.
And in the past, you would go through certain areas that became very dark, minimally lit. And then in the distance, you would see the next installation. And you're trying to sort of work out what it is.
You get a peek of it. And
and it's almost like you're discovering this new element. A little bit like the feeling that you get when you read a book like Alice in Wonderland or Through the Looking Glass, where you're coming across these situations and things that are new and exciting and fresh and a bit quirky. So that's what we've enjoyed in the past, and there have been quirky exhibits.
Even if they've been very simple.
Yeah, so we felt that this year it was a collection of crowd-pleasing elements.
Yeah.
And
especially musically.
Yeah, musically it was crammed full of Christmas music.
I mean, it literally felt, Woolworths has been gone for some time, but it felt as though they had bought the, best Christmas songs of the last century from Woolworths and were just bunging them in without much thought.
Yeah, it didn't feel as
magical.
There were elements missing. There were certain things that we thought, I hope they're going to do that this year. Like, for example, the sort of light field, which stretched into the distance, which you will see on my video from 2018, Christmas at Kew, which was just spectacular. The laser garden, that wasn't there either.
Though it was replaced by something that was lovely. It was the neon garden, wasn't it?
The neon strings.
That was lovely, but the music. There was an assault on your senses, I found, with a lot of the music that was used. But there were some installations which used specially curated music. Yeah,
in a more abstract nature.
Which was lovely.
Which is the kind of thing that we enjoy and our friends enjoy as well. Something which, dare I say, is a little bit more trippy, which does feel like it's transporting you. Plus, the other element that we didn't like was that the trail had been specifically designed to take you through the shopping areas, to the vendors, next to a restaurant, so on and so forth. We understand
but
they have to make money.
There were, I can't remember whether the main cafe was open last year or not. Certainly the one at the end of the lake was, the restaurant. But there were a number of stands in previous years to get mulled wine, cider, drinks around the trail. But this time, I'm sure they had complaints that there weren't enough food and beverage stands last time because maybe there was only about 3 or 4 throughout the whole trail. This time, there must be 40 or more. It was just excessive, and sort of like Singapore noodles to marshmallows to waffles to, I don't know, fries, halloumi fries.
Yeah. But they were capitalising clearly to make some money, which is fair enough. It's a business, you know. They've got to run it as a business.
But you can do that too much.
Yeah, and I think it could have been laid out differently. I think also the way in which the trail was laid out, it seemed that people were sort of moving much more quickly. We don't like to just walk through going, oh, pretty lights, la, la, la. We like to kind of look at the installation, immerse ourselves, and look at how it's been designed and just sort of feel what the artist was probably intending.
Yeah.
And it just felt like there were crowd-pleasing elements at every turn. Oh, pretty lights doing different things.
And also I mean, you know, I love a lit tree like the next person does, but there was too much light. There was, as Richard said, last few times we've been, there's been quite a lot of darkness, and there wasn't really much darkness, and everything was signalled with a really bright screen. In black and white, it said what the next thing was or what the next beverage stand was, and it was visually interfering with the magic of the trail. And also the trail itself was bordered this year with a fence, with a rope fence, and that I found quite odd as well. It felt as though they really were trying to just funnel you through as quickly as possible and get you to the next food and beverage stand.
Yeah. So,
disappointing.
And also, I think the thing with the signage for each installation, I understand that the artist or the organisation that made the installation require credit for that. I understand that. It should be that way. But that took away the feeling that you were walking through a woodland and discovering something that you just didn't know why it was there or what it was meant to be, you know, that it had been, you know, organically placed there by some being from outer space. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know.
It's like
exactly.
that star, that big star, which was beautiful, that was meant to be engulfed in dry ice, but wasn't, because clearly it wasn't working. I mean, that looked like it had just landed from a UFO. We didn't need a big, brightly lit sign to tell us what it was, you know. I mean, why not produce a leaflet that you're given as you enter, which has a list of all the...
Well, it will cost more money to do
that,
won't it?
But
And
why
then
not do that
those
instead?
Those will be strewn across the trail, and they'll need to be collected.
Well, there were already masks and various things strewn across the trail. So all in all, if we were to give it marks out of 10, last year was a 10, most definitely. In fact, maybe an 11. This year, I would say it was probably a 6.5.
6 for me.
But
there were some installations that were just glorious. I mean, there was the singing trees again, which they downsized. It was only on 2 trees rather than 3 or 4. And then there was the one that we all loved,
the Aurora,
which was great.
So, yeah, all in all, I mean, we had a lovely evening because
we did.
The main enjoyment, of course, is seeing our friends. So they arrived in the afternoon, we went to the evening, and they stayed the next day, and we had a lovely day chilling out, eating lots of lovely things, and chatting, of course, catching up. But we enjoyed it. We enjoyed going out, and it was fun. But yeah,
it was a lovely evening.
For the reasons that we've given, it was, you know, a lower score this year.
Yeah, previously it's been a lovely, magical, enchanting evening, and this year I think it was lovely and enjoyable.
Yeah, so there you go. That's our critique of Christmas at Kew 2021, which of course was also cancelled twice.
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was, yeah.
It was postponed and then cancelled.
And then cancelled again. Yeah. So this was the sort of third attempt to get there.
And also, I think you said this time it was in association with Raymond Gubby, Raymond Gubby is it's an organisation. It's a big event promoter. It does lots and lots of concerts and events, lots at the Royal Albert Hall, and it's incredibly successful. Though it sort of did feel a bit middlebrow, really, for me.
I don't know what you mean by middlebrow.
There was nothing that you had to really think about apart from Aurora. That one, it felt all a bit crowd pleasing.
Well, we said that,
Yeah.
so let's move on.
Well, that's what I
Well,
meant by
we're moving
middlebrow.
on now. We've done that bit. So, you wanted to mention the allotment, Paul.
Yes, the tour I did for November, I was saying what a mess. There's so much to do, and even though I've only been at the plot for about 3-4 hours this week, I've really cracked on with sorting out the end beds and started weeding beds. I'm not going to worry too much about the bits in between the beds until the beds are all sorted, because that's a sensible thing to do. So that will be up, of course, as usual on Monday morning as a week at the plot. But I'm just pleased to have, sometimes you need to do something and get beyond your prevarication. And I think I've got beyond my prevarication this week, which I'm really pleased about. So yeah, I need to plant out Portuguese cabbage, which are in modules at the moment. So I need to weed another half of a bed by the Brussels sprouts, and then those can all go in. Hopefully today or tomorrow. Though we do have a working party at the site tomorrow, so it depends how tired I am after that. We're going to be doing quite a bit of pruning of shrubs and trees because they're entering their dormancy now. And with the weather getting colder and not being so mild, they won't reshoot, which with mild weather they might do. So we put some things off by 4 or 6 weeks just to get further into colder weather.
Good. Lovely, Paul. So, what have we watched on TV this week? So, the first thing to say, the huge disappointment, is that Star Trek Discovery has been taken from Netflix and will be going on to Paramount, which we don't have, which we won't get, because it's not going to be international until next year. So very disappointing. It means we're going to have to do a subscription to Paramount in order to see it.
Yeah.
Really, really disappointing. And I think a lot of fans are really a bit pissed off with it, frankly. Yeah, I am. I think it's a real cheek.
I mean, I don't really understand. You would have thought that, because it was supposed to start in the next week or so on Netflix, and the news broke, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. And it's sort of like, well, surely they knew well before that, surely Netflix had either paid the license for it or they hadn't and knew they weren't going to have it. It's
rather ridiculous, actually. They should have worked harder to retain that deal, no matter what has gone on. But hey, at the end of the day, it's just a TV program.
But I think what it is going to,
but it's a big part of our winter entertainment.
It is. Instead of people picking them up for an annual pass, you'll just drop in for a month and pay for the month.
Well, yeah, we've done that
and watch
before.
it and then sort of come out. Yeah, but I think we may do that more. And nobody then sort of significant. Well, I suppose more streaming platforms benefit. But yeah, anyway.
They should actually allow subscriptions based on one show. So this is going to be running for X number of weeks. You can buy a subscription for that length of time, and it will automatically cancel itself, because they rely on people forgetting to cancel the subscriptions.
Yeah, of course.
And they've done that for years on things like that, haven't they?
But of course, on Prime, if you're not a Prime member, well, even if you are a Prime member, you can buy series of things,
yeah,
can't
of course,
you? So
yeah.
you can buy a series for 15 quid or whatever it is. I don't know, because we don't really do it.
No.
But
so
yeah, that's
what
a
else have
disappointment.
we watched, Paul? What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, current favourite. If you haven't already seen this show, it's based on the film of the same name, and it's about a group of friends who happen to be vampires.
And they're familiar.
Happen to be stuck in the past compared to modern vampires. And it's the story of what they get up to. It's so funny, it's such a good show, it's so intelligent, it's so well written, it's so well filmed. The special effects are minimal but really good.
And I think that's the key thing. We were talking about this with Pag. It's the special effects. They just don't go. They go overboard on the quality, but not the quantity. So there may just be 5 seconds of CGI in something,
Yeah.
but it just adds that magic to it.
Yeah, it's a great show. We thoroughly enjoy it. And of course the thing that makes it is the strength of the characters and the acting.
And the writing.
Yeah, but it's combined, all of those things
Absolutely.
combined. You
Yeah.
can have great writing and terrible acting, Paul.
I know you can. I was saying and rather than instead of. Yeah. So that's series 3 on BBC iPlayer. I think the other 2 series are available as well, but I'm not sure. What else have we been
Jolly
watching?
good, jolly good. We watched The Sky at Night. What was The Sky at Night? It was about telescopes and the history of telescopes and their development over the years, and how people, discovered that lenses magnify things.
And mirrors.
And mirrors can gather light and be much more effective than lenses alone.
Because did they say a lens can only get so big, where a mirror can get to 90 inches or
lenses
something?
can only be manufactured to a certain size before they start to break and become untenable, so to speak. And of course, if you know anything about telescopes, the ones that use lenses are called refractors, and the ones that use mirrors are called reflectors. So they also use lenses as well, but in combination with the mirrors. And of course this led up to the stories around the new telescope, the James Webb telescope, which is launched into space in December, which is a massive, massive achievement. This is going to enable us to see further and further into deep space, which essentially is further back in time.
Yeah, it's just mad.
Because it takes a long time for the light to arrive to Earth.
I mean,
so essentially when you look at the moon, you're looking at the moon as it was a few minutes ago.
And the sunlight.
Sun is also a few minutes.
7
as
or
well.
8 minutes,
Yeah.
I think the sun. Yeah.
So, depending on how far away these objects are, the light has to travel to get to our eyes, to reach our eyes. So the James Webb telescope will enable us to look further back in time, essentially.
Isn't it like 10 times as much back in time or something?
Well, you compare the power to Hubble, because Hubble was the first telescope to enable us to see very, very distant objects, which essentially were forming millions of years ago, or formed millions of years ago. So, yeah, it will enable us to look further back than Hubble. So, but the whole thing about the James Webb telescope is it has to unfold in space. So all of the operational stuff has to go to plan, because there is no way we have of fixing it.
No, and it's further out from us, isn't it?
Much further out than, I think it's further out than the orbit of the moon. So, in the old days, of course, we would send up the shuttle,
Yeah.
I think, to do a repair on Hubble. But Hubble is quite close to Earth.
Yeah.
So, if something goes wrong, it's a huge waste of money.
Yeah, but they're
basically.
insured, so
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's the amount of ingenuity,
Absolutely.
the science that's gone into it, the engineering, the support staff that have been involved in this project.
Well, it's like that landing
It's
on
massive.
Mars. You know, what was that, 6 months ago? I mean, that
Yeah.
was so tense, you know, and amazing.
Yeah. But
And
of course
again, it landed like 15 minutes before we actually knew it had successfully landed. I find that
well, they've got
extraordinary.
the 7 minutes of terror, haven't they? Which is the whole thing, whether the whole thing will survive the entry onto Mars. With the James Webb, I think it's going to take 6 weeks before we know whether it's all been successful.
Because it needs to travel out there,
Travel
and
out
then
there
it needs to unfold.
So, fingers crossed for them.
I think the one on Mars, there was the helicopter on Mars, wasn't there? And I think they were hoping that it was going to be like 4 weeks after landing that they would be able to have an operational helicopter. And, you know, these things just take time.
Well, I mean, just the fact that they were able to engineer a little drone that can actually fly in the Martian atmosphere because it's so much thinner. It takes a lot more power than it would on Earth for that little drone to be able to fly. So, I mean, this is amazing. Science is incredible. You know, it's not magic. You can't wave a magic wand and these things appear. It's got to be engineered and designed and meticulously thought out. You know, it's incredible. Hats off to them, I say. Anywho, let's tie this up, Paul, because it's time to say goodbye. It's been too long already.
Goodbye!
No, so we watched Sky at Night, RuPaul's Drag Race,
Yeah.
which I actually fell asleep during, so we need
You
to
did.
rewatch because I can't remember what happened.
I haven't watched it. When you fell asleep, I stopped and turned to Shetland. Watched that.
There was also a talking about spacey things. There was an eclipse, but it was too cloudy. We didn't see it.
Was it a lunar eclipse or a solar?
Lunar eclipse. A blood moon. Ooh.
So a lunar eclipse, that's when the Earth goes in front of the path of the light between the sun
Yeah.
and the moon.
Yeah. It's the Earth's shadow.
Got that?
The Earth's umbra.
Umbra.
Yeah.
What's
That's
that?
what they call it, the shadow.
Oh,
There's penumbra and umbra.
oh, right. And then there's umbrella.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Casts shadow. Schitt's Creek we're continuing with.
We've got to
finished
the end of the first series.
So we will continue with that. And I think that's been it, other than the usual things like Countdown, Father Brown, Blake 7.
Blake 7,
We have
yeah.
been watching. For those of you who don't know what Blake 7 is, it's a series from the late 70s, early 80s. Very camp, really, isn't it? When you think of Servalan.
Oh, Servalan is, yes.
I mean, she is my... I love Servalan. Jacqueline Pearce was amazing.
She was an absolutely brilliant actor.
Oh, so
Really was.
good. And her outfits. And I mean, it's kind of like Dynasty in space, isn't it?
It is really, yeah.
When she's on screen.
It is. It
Really,
is.
she was the Joan Collins of the space series,
Yeah.
wasn't she? Really. So yeah, you know, that's been it for TV.
Oh, I did listen, or I am listening, to Towards Zero on BBC Sounds, which is a Agatha Christie dramatisation. So as I've been doing the beds at the plot, I've been listening to that. I need to get my Bluetooth working because I just place it next to me and listen to it rather than Bluetooth.
Well, I think that's rather selfish, Paul. Disturbing other people.
Well, that I wouldn't do it if other people were there. There weren't any other people there. That's why doing it with headphones is better. Yeah.
Good. So, that's the end of the show for this week. It is. We're going to get on with our day. We have to edit this, put it together, and present it to you.
Well, yeah, and you need to put the footage in, don't you?
I've got all that work to do now.
Here we are.
So,
I've got a couple of calls on, and then I'm going to be getting to the plot, I hope,
Good.
today.
And I think I quite fancy a coffee.
Ooh, coffee.
Me too.
Coffee.
So, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Take care. Au revoir. Bienvenue. Whatever.
Bye.
Come again. Hope you enjoyed it.
Are they all gone?
Bye.
I think they've gone.
Shut the door as you leave.